Usually we talk about eye care that's happening right here in the United States with our next guest from Harvard Eye Associates. I want to welcome Dr. John Hovhannissian. But we're going to talk about today a mission that is near and dear to your heart, the Armenian Eye Care Project.
Yes. The Armenian Eye Care Project is a nonprofit that I've been involved with since I was a second-year resident. It was 1994 that I made my first trip to Armenia and went to the same hospital where we've been working now for 32 years. The group has been working there, and it's been great fun.
Now, how did you link up? I mean, you're of Armenian descent. Is that kind of one of the things that drew you to this project?
Yes, but interestingly, most of the volunteer physicians and people who are involved are actually not Armenian. Mm-hmm. And it could have been another country that I had gone to and saw a place where I could help, and that was really that, seeing a need that was there, a place that was receptive to help, and it started all with that.
Is it kind of like a Doctors Without Borders project where you go over there and you have patients kind of waiting in line and they're ready to go and you're treating all of their needs?
Yeah, so it started out that way for sure. Long lines around the block. That was a time in Armenia and so Armenia, for those who aren't familiar, is in the former Soviet Union. It's to the south of Russia, borders Georgia and Azerbaijan and Iran and Turkey. And the country was devastated by an earthquake as well as the economic collapse that followed the fall of the Soviet Union. So healthcare was in a shambles. And the Minister of Health sent out a request for help for U.S. doctors, and many came. And our group was among them. It wasn't a group at that time. It was a bunch of individuals who kind of coalesced around this nonprofit.
I remember the earthquake well back then, and it was just it just decimated so much of the countryside and buildings that were just poorly built, unfortunately, in the first place, and they just couldn't withstand the size of that earthquake.
That's exactly right. Many people died, and then the infrastructure was devastated, and then with the economic collapse, there was very little that they could do. So we started by going and doing as much surgery as we could, and then realized pretty quickly we can't meet the needs of a whole country, and so we had to teach. We had to build the means for them to become independent.
So has it evolved from just kind of a Doctors Without Borders kind of mission, just go over there and treat people, to building their infrastructure, their own systems within, and training people there?
That's right. Yeah. So we brought a number of their sort of most promising young doctors to the U.S. who are now the heads of departments, in the leading institutions there. And we trained them in the U.S. For a year or sometimes more, so that they would really be well prepared to go back, with the idea that, look, you're going to treat at least 50% of your patients without charging them at all. And they did about 80% of their patients without charging them, and they continued to do that. And we've now set up a mobile eye hospital that runs throughout the country and serves it. We have 10 regional clinics that about half of them do surgery, the other half are just sort of diagnostic and lasers, and just a variety of services. We've really elevated the eye care treatment paradigm in Armenia dramatically over all these years.
Well, that's terrific. And give a man a fish, teach a man to fish, kind of thing. So that exactly the infrastructure is being built out. What are some of the things you're seeing there that are just less common here in the United States in terms of people's degenerative eye diseases or glaucoma and things like that?
Things are just a lot worse. When you go in the developing world, you see problems that you just don't see in Laguna Hills. You see problems that are, diabetes is much worse. Cataract is, people go blind from cataract there. Here, we take them out when it starts to bother you, when it starts to affect your vision. Glaucoma is very advanced, and so, our goal has been preventive care. Our goal has been to move things earlier so that there's not as much disease. But there's some very interesting things. An example is in prematurely born babies, there's a disease that's called retinopathy of prematurity. So it used to be that babies born prematurely in Armenia didn't survive. Then they got a neonatal intensive care unit where they could keep them alive, but they found a lot of these kids were going blind because of this condition that happens in prematurely born kids who survive. They go blind. But it's treatable if you are right there at the right time with the right treatment, which usually involves laser. So our project put in place a center of excellence where we can, in the neonatal intensive care units, diagnose and treat this blinding condition for babies. And we can honestly say that at this point, we have ended retinopathy of prematurity blindness for children in the whole country.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were there, and what were you doing?
So we just went in September. We had a trip of about 15 doctors that came with me. I kind of organized a group of people from Harvard, the other Harvard, not Harvard Eye Associates, but there's a university on the other side of the country that also calls itself
Pick
Harvard.
them up along the way.
Yeah. We've folks from UC Irvine locally, folks from Florida, folks from Pennsylvania, all over, mostly non-Armenian physicians who come, pay their own expenses to travel there, and then did a week's worth of surgery and teaching. And so we get to see, one of the treasures for me is getting to see patients who I've seen before, because we monitor these folks and they come and see us and share their stories, which is pure joy to see.
Yeah. One of the stories that we want to share is about your patient, Ani. Can you tell me a little bit about that before we play the video we want to see?
When I first met Ani about 15 years ago, I was taken by her. She was about a 13-year-old girl who was the same name as my daughter, Ani.
Oh, okay.
And so that struck me. And my daughter was 3 years old. But when this Ani was 3 years old, same age as my daughter, she went blind. And maybe that's a good place to cut into the video and what we were able to do for Ani.
Okay, folks, let's take a look at that video right now.
Անին որ նոր էր ծնվելուց հետո շատ ակտիվ էր, շատ աշխուժ։
Շատ չարաճ երեխա էր, ինչ ասես ձեռը գցում էր։
When she was 3, she got into a bottle of bleach, and she, thinking it was a sweet drink, drank it, but it splashed when she dropped the jug, and it spilled all over her eyes.
Աչքերը փակ, իր աչքերը բաց չէր արդեն։
Աչքերը սպիտակ, ոչ մի բան չէր տենում։
And she became blind.
Տարբեր հիվանդանոցներ ենք տարել։
Ռուսաստանել եմ տարել, ընդեղ էլ օգուտ չկար։
Ինքը ասում էր՝ «Մամ, всё, ինձ մի տարեք հիվանդանոց, էլի ինչ կլինի»։ Ոչ մի բան չի փոխվել։
During most of her life, Ani was a dependent person. In Armenia, those that are blind are sort of relegated to a secondary existence.
Չեմ հաճախ է դպրոց ու տունը նստած։ Երազում էի, որ սովորական մարդու նման ես էլ մի օր կտենամ։
Հետո իմացանք, որ դրսից օգնություններ ա գալիս Ամերիկայից։
Իրանք մեզ հույս տվեցին։
When she was 14 or 15 years old, we did keratoprosthesis surgery in both eyes.
Օպերացիայից հետո աչքերը բացեցին ու մի անգամուց տեսա ու միջև մայր չեմ հավատում, որ այդպես բան կլինի իմ հետ էլի։
She was able to see the first, second lines of the Snellen chart from 5 meters.
She looked into the faces of her parents for the first time since she was 3 years old.
Հետո քիչ-քիչ մամ հայելի կտաս ես ինձ նայեմ։ Անընդհատ չէի հավատում։ Ես ինչ չէի ճանաչում։ Այդքան տարի 2 տարեկանից մինչև 14 տարեկան հասակում երեխան տեսողություն չի ունեցել։ Ինքնուրույն հիմա արդեն ման եմ գալիս։ Դուրս ա գալիս մենակ, գնում ա Երևան մենակ, գյուղը մեջ մենակ։
Եվ պետք է մենք հաց սարքենք իրան տայինք, հիմա ինքը կարա ինքնուրույն բոլորին հաց սարքի տա։
Միշտ իր հետև ընկած էի, ման էի գալու, բայց հիմա չէ։
She went to school. She learned to read. She learned to sew.
Շատ եմ սիրում շոր կարել։
Հեսա վարակույրները մեր սաղ ինքնա կարում, խաղալիքներ ա կարում, իրան ուզած շորը կարում ա։
Մի երեխու տեսողությունը հրաշք էր։ Հրաշք։
Չափից ուրախ եմ, դաժե սիրտս ա լսում ուրախությունից։
Ուրախությունից լացս գալիս ա։
Աշխարհի չափ էլ շնորհակալ եմ այդ մարդկանցից։
Եթե իրանք չլինեին, երևի իմ երեխին բուժում չլիներ։ Դա այն ժամանակ ոչ մի հույս չունեի։ Իսկ հիմա ունեմ։
And stories like Ani's are the reason I keep going back to Armenia.
Շատ շնորհակալություն եմ հայտնում իրանցից։ Իրանք շատ մեծ բան են արել։
You know, I think the thing is, when we can talk about all the doctors that go and all the treatments that you do, but when you see someone's story like Ani, it kind of makes you realize how important these kinds of missions are and how important it is for us to go to these countries and help.
Yeah, I get choked up every time I see that and tell the story or think about it, because it really is pure joy to see someone whose life is transformed by the technology, by the knowledge, by the skills that we bring and give to these doctors. And so it's a calling that that I certainly can't ignore, and many other wonderful people have supported. And you know, it's not just about doctors who go. It's about donors who support the equipment we bring, who support the training that we undertake, and they are really every bit as important as the doctors who do their part.
Absolutely. And you guys have a gala coming up actually later this month on November 23rd. Tell us a little bit about that and how people can get involved.
Yeah, thank you. Every November we do a gala that's it's going to be this year. You said it, November 23rd, Saturday at the Balboa Bay Club. Everybody's welcome to come. Our website, icareproject.org. has a, you know, the place you can get your tickets to come. There's a great auction and wonderful things you can do when you're there, or you can just support us. You can make a donation through the website as well. It's obviously tax deductible, and you know, we all do our part to try to make the world a better place. Sometimes it's great to do that locally. We love doing that as well. And sometimes when you have the ability to reach to a place that, you know, you might not have ever gone, or you might not have ever made a difference in somebody's life, you can feel really good about making the world a better place.
And the monies that go into this, like you said, the doctors usually pay their own way and pay for a lot of their expenses. So the money that goes into this really goes to care there, right? And equipment and things like that.
We're very, very careful about how we spend money because we need to be. Frankly, the cost of delivering care there is low in terms of people, but in terms of equipment and supplies and lens implants and things, which the government helps a little bit with, the Armenian government, and actually there's international aid organizations like World Diabetes Fund that have helped us. But donors allow us to really impact the quality of care and to reach to people. You know, we can sponsor a village we can go to, which we couldn't otherwise. You can sponsor individuals, corneal transplants for individuals that cost real money, and so we try to fund all of that money to go right to where it helps the people.
All right. Well, Dr. John Hovnanian, celebrating 50 years of serving people here right in Laguna Hills at Harvard Eye Associates and serving the people of Armenia. Thank you so much for joining us and bringing us this message.
Michael, nice to see you, and thanks for allowing us to share it today.
Absolutely. You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.